Hi, you're with Jules Knight from NASCO Based Beat Shop. We're doing the FJ Holden Jive Talking series. We're just chatting about the accessories that you could get for your FX and your FJ. Some of the resources I'm using at the moment is the black Master Parts catalogue, because it's got some terrific information in here. Information on the cars, where they were assembled, the different states, whether that was body assembled, vehicle assembled, engine assembly, and so on. Illustrations of the day about the cars, and also, and more importantly for what we're talking about, the accessories that were available, more lists of universal accessories, and also the part numbers for the accessories. So, we've got sort of something to go back to ensure things we've got genuine information. And to couple that, we're also looking at some of the advertising of the day. And I've also grabbed some of the books. Now, this one that I use, it would be EJ, EJEH. And the good thing is with that sort of resource, you're sort of getting a good spread from FX all the way through to EJ, and the same sort of thing with the latter one for HK, HT, HG. You're able to go through that booklet, and it's sort of, you can see what's sort of fallen off as vehicles have gotten older, but also the other things that they've through NASCO have brought on for sale. So look, I think these NASCO catalogues are great, and read in conjunction with the Master Parts catalogue, just a terrific resource if you're restoring your Holden, or you've got an FJ and you're just on the lookout for things and you buy bits and pieces at the swap meet, or whereas now it's a lot easier than it used to be, because of the trading websites and things like that, and the internet and marketplace. It's on Facebook, because there's so much more available, and it's so much more readily available to the buyer. So, from those perspectives, it's great. What I wanted to talk about was, I wanted to start with rubber. Now, with the FJ Holden, the mud flaps that are on them at number, number 28, and 28 is mud flap set front fender, and the 36 is the mud flat set rear fender. Now let's talk about the rears first. Utilities are different to sedans. The last couple of clips I trotted out of a later model set of NASCO rear mud flaps, and they were in pristine condition because they were new old stock. Now what I've got is I've got a pair for my panel wagon, and this is, they sort of came out originally in the 80s. They started to be reproduced as soon as the rubber ones became unavailable. But as you can see, they're shorter than the like normal sedan mud flap. And there is two things that come with this. Firstly, there would be a bracket that goes at the back and actually attaches to the inner guard, or the inner wheel arch, I should really say, and that's what that bracket attaches to that as such. But then there's another strip of metal that goes across these three holes here, with three nuts and bolts and washers that go through here, and then attaches to the bracket. So this is a configuration that goes straight onto that inner wheel arch, and obviously either side of the rear of the ute or the panel van. What they did have though is, this is just moulded straight, but you'll see on the bracket they've got a little bit of a curve in them, because the inner guard does have a curve in them. So they're not just a flat folded unit. Because of the curve, they're actually trying to keep the mud flap straight on a curved surface. So part of the mud flap will actually sit. It really doesn't matter. If you find something and you're able to use it and put it on your car and enjoy it, more power to you. Who cares? So long as you're having, enjoyment from, getting a set of mud flaps, because mud flaps and wheel trims on a car really brighten it up from the outside. So I'm a great believer in that. So, one of the first things I like to do is get mud flaps on the car, and I normally seem to buy FJ Holdens that have never had mud flaps. So, I always have my work cut out for me to start with. Now, the front mud flaps I've mentioned are very simply made. Now, what I did was I was looking for something for my Mustang, and I went down to Supercheap, Autobarn, wherever else, Repco, and I found these in the parts bin, just like a special bin or whatever, and they was just putting them out the door for like $20. Now, these are your standard type of mud flaps, front mud flaps that you could get, and when I bought them 19 years ago, 20 years ago, I got them for my Mustang. Now, I have been able to get a mud flap bracket from my mate Michael Bishop, and we made them at work. But if you don't have those types of resources to be able to copy and remanufacture from the original, you've got to get something like this to simply look at, okay, how it's constructed and what am I going to do to make what I want from it. Now, a little bit of reverse engineering. So obviously on a latter day car, there's 4 holes here for nuts and bolts to go up underneath the bottom of the guard. So the guard comes down here and this bolts up to the bottom of the guard. And then this would be, the inside of the wheel arch. However, FJ Holdens weren't shaped like this. Now the front mud flaps were very much like so. It had a nice gentle curve in it here, where it came around, and the same for the front. They came like so. Now I've deliberately turned these around, so I would be looking at using. If you came across one of these, and it's only because of the shape of them. You can see that there's more of the material that sticks out to the front than there does to the back. So it's a matter of shaping that here and shaping that here, and then you would have a perfectly acceptable front mud flap for an FJ. Now, FJs were a little bit, and you'll have to follow the guard a little bit, but at the end they were sort of kicked in, and that was so that the mud that was flicked up from the front tyres would actually get caught on the flap of the mud flap and then basically fall down. And that was the theory behind it. That's why they have the kick in on both sides, so that they actually work functionally for you. Besides looking flash, they work functionally well, and they're doing their job. So look, that's just a handy hint from me. Anyone who wants mud flaps for the front of their car, you do it however you want. But if it was me, I would be happy to, if I came across these in the parts bin or on the shelf, I'd be happy to grab them and, shape them how I wanted, or shape them more in line with an FJ, and be able to functionally use them, and then be able to put them on my car. But when you can't buy something and it's not available, well, you've got to bake it. So this just gives you a bit of an idea about the things that you see and you come across. Well, you can repurpose it for your own needs and your own requirements. So that's something that you can do as you walk into Supercheap or Autobarn or any of those places where they actually have them available. But that's just a little hint. Now, talking about the outside of your cars and talking about rubber, when you're putting together a ute or a panel van, it's always been very difficult to get stone guards. Now, I remember when I bought my first ute, it didn't have stone guards. So I bought it as a 17-year-old kid. Stone guards themselves would be, have like a metal shell inside of them, and then they would have the rubber on the outside. There was a specific measurement. I think it was like 9 inches or something from the edge of the body where it meets the door to here, but don't quote me. And then that would fit up on top of the bodywork and the front of the guard. So for quite some period of time, these haven't been available. You haven't been able to get them. There's been cars finished off where owners would beg, buy, borrow, or steal to be able to get the stone guards. But thankfully now they are being remade. A company down the Gold Coast, Better Auto Rubber, is making them, and I just was talking about it with my son, and he actually looked it all up, and so Lachlan rang up and placed an order for myself and a mate of mine, and then they just went down and picked them up, and I think, look, it's terrific quality. It'll certainly look the part and really finish off the car, because the outside of it, black tyres as far as the use is concerned, black mud flaps, nice chrome with the red line and so on in the hubcaps and scratch plates and things like that, and the black stone guard protecting that rear guard will really finish it off, and not for nothing, they are quite functional, because if you run over things with the front wheels, it's actually going to could flip up, and what's in line from them, if it goes outside of the undercarriage of the car, it could hit that guard. And so it's good to have these stone guards that are there, because not only do they look good, but they're functional as well, because they're going to protect your bodywork. So that's just a bit of a handy hint on, if you've got a panel van or a ute, where to go to get stone guards. But that sort of wraps up this little clip on external rubber. We'll talk about some other accessories and things like that the next time that you tune in to us on NASCO Bay Speed Shop, where we're doing our series on accessories called FJ Holden Jive Talking. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, folks.